These are my top 10 things to do in Hanoi, Vietnam. Hanoi is the capital of Vietnam in the north, and it is one of the most interesting places to visit in the entire country, undoubtedly. And Hanoi actually translates to City of Lakes in Vietnam, which is perfect for starting at number 1, which is going to be the Hoan Kiem Lake and Ngoc Sun Temple. This area is located in the famous old quarter of Hanoi, and it is probably for me like the hub of this neighborhood. And the lake is beautiful, you can walk around it, but the real true thing you need to do is visit the Ngoc Sun Temple, because this is a beautiful little temple complex where you cross this little picturesque red bridge, and then you can learn some of the interesting history about Lo Lei, the turtles that are like mythical creatures in the lake, and just like Vietnam in general. So what's the legend behind Hoan Kiem Lake in this little area here? So it turns out back in the 15th century, the Ming invaders from China were trying to take Vietnam and make it their own, but they fought back due to the help of a turtle, which actually gave the general or leader, I think his name's Lo Lei, a magical sword. He used it to defeat the Chinese and send them away and get their independence. Then he came back here and returned the sword to the turtle, and then the turtle went back to the lake happily ever after, giving this lake the name Restored Sword Lake from that legend. And actually those turtles I was telling you about before look prehistoric, honestly, and really beautiful and cool, and makes sense to know the name of the lake and the interesting legend behind it. So cool to learn a little bit about the culture and folklore here in Vietnam, just besides seeing the beautiful places here in Hanoi. It does cost 50,000 Vietnamese dong to enter, but it's a great way to get acquainted with Hanoi, Vietnamese culture, folklore, and stories, and just a truly unique but iconic thing to do in Hanoi. Number 2 is Beer Street, which is arguably just as iconic of a thing to do in Hanoi, but definitely it's less tranquil and there's no cool folklore or stories that I'm aware of. Beer Street, it's a street and kind of like a collection of streets in the old quarter of Hanoi. It's just to the north of the Hoan Kiem Lake. And if you visit at night, it will be very rowdy. There will be like a million different little hole-in-the-wall bars and restaurants where you can visit. There will be people who will be a little bit pushy, trying to get you to go to the bar, coming up to you, trying to hand you stuff and usher you over, so be warned. And some of the drinks here are going to be a little bit overpriced. I think it's kind of lost a little bit of its charm from what I've heard and read online. But what it has not lost is on some of the side streets, there's these cute little establishments where you'll see lots of local people just hanging out and drinking. And they sell bia hoi. And bia hoi is like actual, maybe it comes from like a keg or something, but it's local Vietnamese beer. And they sell it for a very affordable price of, I think it's like 10,000 dong, which I think is like 38 cents. I could be getting that wrong, but it's really affordable. I don't know where else you can get a cup of beer for that price. And you can just sit on these little plastic stools, watch all the commotion on the street, have a drink, and it just really, it's a great place for backpackers. It's a great place to meet maybe some locals or some other travelers and just kind of take in the energy and the commotion on Hanoi. And you can really just feel totally immersed in this wonderful, energetic, hectic city that is Hanoi. Number 3 is to eat, of course, but eat on the street. Now, Hanoi is just a city that's perfectly experienced the more you're on the street and just around other people. And you don't have to just eat street food to eat on the streets. So many restaurants will have little small shops or just have outdoor seating. And they have these tiny little plastic stools for bia hoi we were drinking earlier, where it's super cute. You just pull out the stool or a little chair and just sit down. You're hunched over a little table, and then everything's just going on around you. People are walking past you. You see stuff from the street coming by, like cars, or you can just see everything happening around you. You're not sheltered and insulated in a little small cafe, which can be nice. You can still have that experience, but make sure to eat this way and eat delicious foods that Hanoi provides, like pho or banh mi and so many other things. So just really get out on the streets, everybody, whether you're drinking bia hoi or eating some delicious regional Vietnamese food that I've mentioned. And the price, of course, is very affordable. This is such a cool eating experience. We're in this little alley across from a temple, and we're just here with a bunch of locals in this little alley, just tucked right in the middle of nowhere. And the pho is delicious. So delicious. Love it. Number 4 is St. Joseph Cathedral, because wow, what a beautiful church. What a beautiful Gothic church. in Vietnam, in Hanoi of all places, because Vietnam has a very interesting history with, of course, the Chinese influence and the French colonization. And you can see like a medieval kind of Gothic looking beautiful cathedral right smack dab in the middle of Hanoi with the crazy like weathered beautiful buildings, and then this like European cathedral right next to it.
I mean, look at this. That's Vietnam right there, obviously. That looks like Europe, so it's really cool to see that while walking around exploring. Just stumbled upon it. Didn't even mean to come here.
So it's beautiful. It was built back in 1864, and it's the largest church in all of Hanoi. So just visually and culturally, it's just so interesting to have this like blend and this architecture present. And again, in a city in Southeast Asia. So check it out. Number 5 is the Tran Quoc Pagoda, and actually a little hidden gem, which I'll talk about after. So the Tran Quoc Pagoda is located actually on the West Lake. Remember, it's a city of lakes. This is another massive lake. It's a cool area to explore in its own right, but this is like the highlight of that area. It's a beautiful pagoda. You can cross over a little pedestrian bridge to get to the area, taking views of the pagoda from a little bit afar, and walk around the temple grounds. There's some really noisy birds there that you might experience as well, and you get nice views of the lake all around you, which is a very big lake as well. So just some of my favorite architecture and a really cool area for you to explore in a different part of Hanoi besides just the old quarter. And right across the street, like if you look at Google Maps, it's like pretty much like right across the street is a memorial, John McCain Memorial. And if you're not American, or maybe you're not super dialed into American politics, I mean, hey, that's probably good for your mental health. But anyway, this is a memorial dedicated to a prisoner of war who was actually, I think he was flying a plane and it was either shot down or it crashed, and he was taken as a prisoner of war, being an American soldier in Vietnam. He ran for president and he did not win, but he was a very popular politician and figure in the USA when I was growing up. So to see his memorial was really interesting. And it's just across from the Tran Quoc Pagoda, so you don't have to like make a whole lot of hassle to go visit it if you have any interest at all in seeing it. Number 6 is the Hoa Lo Prison. Now, as I was saying, the John McCain stuff, the Hoa Lo Prison is really interesting, probably one of the most interesting things I've seen it done like historically in Vietnam, because it actually long ago was an old farming village, and then when the French colonized, they turned it into a prison. And then obviously the French were really terrible to the Vietnamese because like they wanted to resist like their colonization and like rebel, and the prison does a really good job at showing like the struggle of the Vietnamese, telling like the conditions, the stories about prison outbreaks, and really they use very loaded language, rightfully so, to like talk about what the French did to the Vietnamese. But after this, when Vietnam like kicked France out and like regained their independence, and then there was of course the Vietnam War with the Americans, and Americans now were the prisoners in the Hoa Lo prison, and the Vietnamese were the wardens, and they depict it like it was the funnest summer camp ever. They show like guitars and hammocks, and the documentaries make it seem like it's a fun summer camp. I remember even one of the tour guides was saying like how lucky for the Americans that they were prisoners in Vietnam, because we're so kind and like they had such a good time. And I wasn't there. I'm sure like history can be painted in different ways depending on who's telling it. But I feel like you can be objective about history, even if you want to like soften what your side did and be harsher about what other sides did. And they were kind of depicting like the prisoners had like a better life than a lot of Vietnamese people, which maybe they didn't starve to death if that was like something they're comparing it to during this time. But anyway, more so than casting judgment, it was just really interesting to see history being told through another perspective, through their own like experience or like cultural understanding. And as an American, we're hearing so much about the Vietnam War. It was just so interesting and unique to see this place, this important historical place, and like have the story told to me through the country that was like actually like living in the war and like in their own backyard. So anyway, lots of powerful stuff too about like the children having to get involved with like what to do in case like a bomb happens, and like just videos of or pictures of children manning like this really big like artillery weapons, which is just so sad and devastating to see. And the Vietnamese, I think they have a really good outlook on everything despite like all the terrible things that have happened. They seem like happy and positive, and to kind of like push stuff behind and leave it in like the past, which hey, all power to you. I love you Vietnamese people. I love you Vietnam. I love this historical place, and it's a really unique thing that you should check out yourself. Number 7 is the Thang Long Water Puppet Theater. Now, we're talking about really interesting things you can do in Hanoi. And this one, although maybe it's not as historically rich for me as an American, is the Hoa Lo Prison. It was so cool and unique to be a part of this because water puppet theater, it originated back in the 11th century in Vietnam, and it was done more in like the northern regions, but they've kept it today where you are in this waist deep water and there's puppets in front of like a screen where someone's controlling it behind, presumably, and they have an orchestra playing beautiful traditional Vietnamese music. The stories themselves are based on like popular folklore or like stories or depicting life of like the farmers and stuff back in Vietnam. So it's cool. They actually do a story for the Hoan Kiem Lake with the turtle and the sword that I was telling you about earlier. So really cool to kind of put things together in different ways in Vietnam and to do this really cool, interesting, unique experience. Number 8 is the Ho Chi Minh Mausoleum / Ba Dinh Square / One Pillar Pagoda. It's all in the same area, and this is just a very important cultural place to visit, historical place to visit, more so than anything actually, because if you don't know Ho Chi Minh, he was the revolutionary leader. He gave Vietnam their independence and became the first president of like Vietnam, therefore like outside of French rule. And the building is beautiful. You can see Ho Chi Minh written on it, and it has like some really beautiful columns as well, and the square is nice. Cool places to go for, yeah, like I said, the historical importance of this place, but more so than that, if you walk around the square, you can reach the One Pillar Pagoda, which is beautiful, and similar to the Hoan Kiem Lake, it has an important story, which I'll share with you here.
So Vietnam loves its folklore and myths and stories, and similar to in Hoan Kiem Lake, the One Pillar Pagoda has a really famous story. So apparently 1,000+ years ago, in like the year 1000 something, there was an emperor, and he could not have a male heir to reproduce to continue on his name. And he had a dream one night that the goddess of mercy brought him a male heir in some way, shape, or form. So later on, he actually had a child with a peasant girl who was the male heir. And in order to show his appreciation, he built this pagoda over 1,000 years ago. And it has the one pillar because it's supposed to look like a lotus flower coming out of like the stem, because the lotus represents like purity in the Buddhist sort of belief and tradition. So really interesting architecture behind this, or story behind the architecture. And it was actually destroyed by the French in like the 1950s during their colonial period, which is really a big bummer. So it was rebuilt. I don't know when it was destroyed. I think it was rebuilt in the 50s actually. Could be getting the dates a little bit wrong, but just want to give you the context behind it.
And visually, it's really nice. People pray here, and yeah, it's a cool way to mix, all in one place, historical relevance, culture, architecture, and like some kind of like religious, spiritual aspects of Vietnamese culture, all in one spot. So it's really cool, and it's free to enter. Number 9. This is probably the most iconic thing to do in Hanoi, at least maybe on like Instagram and their travel stuff, which is to visit Train Street. So many different streets in Hanoi, but they're all so cool. And Train Street, it's a tourist kind of thing. It's kind of a gimmick, but it's a really cool gimmick because as everything shows, it's like train tracks actually, where an actual train passes by for real transportation purposes. But through this particular area, it passes by. I cannot stress how tight the street is and how close you are. You have to change your chair to face sideways, otherwise the train will hit you. So yeah, it's really intense, and the train just comes flying right by you. But more so than that, it's a beautiful area. There's lots of different like cafes and little bars. You can get a bite to eat, which isn't that expensive, even though it's like a tourist kind of gimmicky thing. And then you can walk along the tracks because the trains come like every hour or a couple hours or so. There's a schedule, and what I recommend you do is find one of these places along train streets. This is the one I went to. You can go to if you'd like, and then you can like add them on WhatsApp and send them a message. They can send you the schedule, and you can plan your visit too, because don't just show up to Train Street if you don't know the time, because you might be waiting a long time. But it's really cool and fun and iconic, and another way to say, wow, Hanoi is kind of crazy, but man, it's so fun and gripping, and it's not just a gimmick, even though it is. It's fun. It's really fun and unique. And finally, number 10 is Ninh Binh. And I don't really like putting this as number 10, but I'm aware a lot of people visit Ninh Binh as a day trip from Hanoi. And if it's between that or not going at all, definitely go. It's about like 2 hours and 20 minutes away from Hanoi. And there's actually a tour through Get Your Guide, I believe. I'll put the guide or the link in the description if you want to like book something very easy and you don't have to worry about getting you there and back on your own. Just book it as a day trip, and you can see beautiful scenery, gorgeous scenery, because the north of Vietnam is so much more than just like the busy city of Hanoi. The landscapes here are outrageously gorgeous. We're talking places in like Ha Giang and like Ha Long Bay, but just only 2 hours from Hanoi. You can go to Ninh Binh and see, it's called the Ha Long Bay on land because they have these beautiful like limestone mountains and cliffs just sticking out of the rice fields, and you can just cruise around on a bike and take it all in slowly. You could do like a water tour, like a little water boat tour for like 4 hours for really reasonable prices. You go through caves and are just going on this river where the mountains and cliffs are just jetting out right above you. And there can be mist. It's so atmospheric and beautiful. There's gorgeous temples. There's the Dragon Mountain as well. I really recommend you spend like 2 or 3 days in Ninh Binh if possible, but if not, a day trip. But don't miss it. Don't miss Ninh Binh if you're going to be in Hanoi. That's my list for my top things to do in Hanoi. It's an amazing place, but Vietnam has so much more to offer than just this wonderful city. So check out my videos on places like Da Nang or Hoi An if you want to see more beauty that Vietnam has to offer. And stay tuned for more of my guides for Vietnam, Southeast Asia, and the rest of the world. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.